Hey everybody, welcome back to, man, that was a very loud welcome. Welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. This is your host, Tom or Robots, and this is a very exciting episode for us. We've been doing these patron monthly get-togethers with our tier 4 and higher patrons on the Fallout Lorecast, but this is the first time that we're doing this on the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. So we're recording live. We're here on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/Robots Radio. And with me today is our first tier 4 Elder Scrolls patron. This is just an episode between the two of us. Our good buddy Lincoln. Lincoln, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the support. I appreciate everybody who's willing to help support these shows and keep them going. But especially somebody who's willing to support at, the level you are. And just so everybody knows who hasn't been able to tune into one of these episodes on the Fallout Lorecast, this episode is all about our patrons. And because Lincoln is our only tier 4 patron right now, this episode's all about Lincoln. And every month we do these at the end of the month. So if you'd like to sign up and get on for next month, you're welcome to do that at patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. But for this week, we are talking anything Lincoln wants to talk about. And this is the way it goes. I pitch out ideas with the group that's going to show up for the episode. And here we are. So Lincoln wanted to dig into just a general background and love of the games, of the Elder Scrolls games. So Lincoln, so why don't we do a little intro first? Why don't you tell some people about yourself and let them get to know you a little bit?
Well, I love video games, first off. I'll just say that. I love anything Bethesda makes, anything Nintendo especially. If anybody knows me, I'm definitely a big Nintendo fan. But
yeah. I mean, who isn't though, right? Like Nintendo, pretty solid.
I mean, there are people that just don't understand that Nintendo makes good games anymore. They still think they're for kids.
Yeah, no, they're good for everybody.
Yeah, that's what E is. E for everyone.
E for everyone.
Or E10 Plus.
Yeah,
is what a couple of games have been made nowadays. But
yeah, those aren't for everyone.
But yeah, so
like if
I'm from the South. You might hear my accent come in a little bit. I really don't have that strong of an accent, but you might hear it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, so if you guys want to talk, if you guys want to talk to me, you can just message me on the Discord. I'd love to talk to
you're active,
anybody on here.
You're active in the Discord, right? You're on the
yeah, whenever I have time, whenever I'm not working.
Yeah. So what do you do for a living?
Right now I'm a retail electronics salesman is how I like to put it.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I work at Target.
Yeah. And I remember you talking about like getting that job and the opportunity you have. So now that you've been there for like a few weeks now, at least, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's since the very end of August is when I got hired. So It's been about a month.
So tell us something interesting about that job that most people wouldn't know. What have you learned? What inside baseball? Is there anything about working in electronics at Target that we'd be like, what? That's a thing? Or, man, you have to deal with people like that? I
mean, one thing that has gotten me really annoying is when people buy a big TV, but then they come up with like a Civic or a Honda Accord to put it in. And it's like, that's not fitting. Like, you know, if you buy a 65-inch TV, you better have a truck or an SUV or something.
Right. Right.
But
yeah, that's one of those things that I always think about whenever I buy anything big. The other thing I think about when I'm buying something really big, and this is where I promise, audience, we will be getting to Elder Scrolls talk because that's what most of this is about.
Yeah,
but
don't worry.
I always go off on these tangents because it occurred to me once that if you're going to go steal something from a store, I guess I'm giving advice on theft right now. If you're going to steal something from a store, then the best way to do it is to pick up a really large object, maybe even get 2 people to do it, and look like you're supposed to be moving it. Because people, if you pick up a pack of gum and stick it in your pocket, people are going to be like, what are you doing? That's theft. But if you pick up a gigantic 60-inch TV and lift it and say, hey, can you help me with the door? They're going to think you're supposed to be doing that. And I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before to people, and I'm pretty sure that
Target, wear a red shirt and jeans.
Yeah.
And you're good.
Yeah, there was.
But
There have been times that I had a red polo on in a Target, and somebody came up and asked, some old lady asked me for help, and I was like,
oh my gosh, that's what I wear every day. I always wear because I like to look good. Like I don't just want to wear a red T-shirt there.
mhm.
Like because we can wear any red shirt we want. Um,
Hmm.
but I like to wear polos because they just look better. They just look slightly more
It's more
professional.
professional. Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Because technically my title is like specialty salesman. So like because I have to be knowledgeable about the stuff that I sell. So I'm not just general
Right,
merch.
right. Yeah.
But
Why is this TV better than this TV? What is OLED? What is just
yeah,
regular
exactly.
LED? Yeah, all that stuff. Sure.
And like the other day, I know, again, side tangents, but this is not good. Two people that go on tangents together,
This is
together
going
in
to
one
be
room.
electronic salesperson cast.
This is not good. Elder Scrolls, what's that? Um, but like I had to explain what like pure color versus like Technicolor was,
Mhm.
which are two just marketing terms that LG and Samsung use to basically say it looks good.
Right, right. They don't
So
really
like
mean
I had to
anything.
explain to them. I'm like, it
Yeah,
really doesn't mean anything except for it looks good.
right.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, that's welcome to marketing and electronics, and pretty much
yeah,
everything else in the whole world. So okay, so let's go back to Elder Scrolls. Now I know you have
yeah.
a background with these games. I know you love these games probably as much as I do, and you've probably put a lot of hours into them. How did you first get into Elder Scrolls?
So my first game was Skyrim. And really to this day, it's really the only one I've truly played. Like
Hmm.
I've a bit of Morrowind and a little bit of Oblivion,
Yeah,
but
it's
the
hard
only
to go
one that I've
back.
like
It's hard to start in
the
one and
only
go back. That's always
yeah, the only
difficult.
one I've like truly played is Skyrim. I've beaten Skyrim only once actually, so like I've only truly beaten it once, but yeah, so how I got into it was that obviously it came out in 2011, but I didn't have any console that came out on at that time. And I really wasn't a PC gamer until about 2013, which is when I got like my first computer that could really handle games well.
Hmm.
And one of the first games I bought on Steam was Skyrim. So it was like late 2013 because it was for my birthday, which is in October. Um, so yeah, late October is when I started playing Skyrim, and at that point I sort of already knew that this was like this huge game that everybody was like, "Oh, it's perfect, it's amazing."
Right.
Uh, so I didn't have that, oh, what's this game? Oh my gosh, I fell in love with it because it's so perfect. I basically knew that people were saying it was the best game ever.
Right. What? There's
Um,
dragons in this? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
not
So
aware of the lore. So
yeah, yeah. So one of the things that always hits me interesting about diving into the Elder Scrolls games, because it hit me, and I know this has happened to other people, is the sheer depth of the history of the world, of the characters, of the races, of the places, of just everything going on. And there's so much to these worlds that when you first jump in, you think, oh, that's cool. He's wearing like a horned helmet. He's got a sword and a shield. Oh, this guy can cast magic. Oh, there's a dragon. Like stereotypical fantasy tropes. But then there comes a point where you dig deeper and you go, what's a Daedra? Oh, wait, werewolves? That's in this? Like there are these points where the world opens up beyond just the things that you expect from a fantasy game.
yeah, or having to make like moral decisions
Yeah,
or like moral dilemmas.
moral dilemmas,
Like we're
multiple
gonna get to that, but
path
there's one
lines.
time.
Yeah, so tell me when did you really notice that these games just open, or at least Skyrim in this case, because that's the one you spent most of the time on. When did you hit that moment where you were just like, holy crap, this is bigger, this is deeper?
It was during the Moloch Ball quest, the one where you get the mace.
Uh huh.
It was when I forget the name of the guy that you have to. I think it's just a general NPC that like Moloch Ball locks him in a cage and like he tells you to kill him,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
Because Moloch Ball, like he's just this. It's gonna sound very weird, but he's probably my favorite Daedric Prince, and I do not agree with what he did. I
It
do
is.
not agree with what he did. I
Right.
know what he
Right.
did, but just the fact that this just purely evil character can even exist,
Hmm.
um, like I fall in love with the character. I'm not a fan of him
Right. Well,
because,
it's the Darth Vader thing, right?
yeah,
I'm sure it's exactly the same thing that people felt like in the late 70s when Star Wars came out. And, you know, you have these very heroic characters. You've got Luke Skywalker, who's fighting the good fight, even though he's a kid and doesn't know what he's doing yet, you know, and you have all this stuff going on. And then you have freaking Darth Vader, you know, in the scary, almost skeletal looking helmet and the cape. And he's just like the calmest badass in the universe, and everybody's afraid of him. And you know that after that movie came out, half of the kids were Luke Skywalker and the other half of the kids were Darth Vader for Halloween. And there's something about a really cool villain that is appealing, you know, even though it's evil.
Yeah, so like when I had to make that decision to kill him, it was like, because I always play as the goody in games. I'm never like I'm gonna murder everybody. That's like never my playthrough.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if it's like an unnamed raider, I'm gonna kill him. But if it's a character that has a name, I basically try to not kill him unless they aggro me.
Yeah, there's always a clear difference between the characters who are like the mechanic that you're supposed to fight, and then like the people with, you know, the persons of the game.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There probably hundreds of times I've F5'd, killed a guard just because he said something mean to me, and then F9'd.
Sure, right. Like what's going to happen? Oh, this is what happens. Okay,
I've done that
reload. Sure.
Probably hundreds of times at this point.
Right. Right, but that's not canon. That was just, let's see what happens.
That was that alternate universe that is now non-existent.
Right. Right. Yeah. Speaking of alternate universes and rabbit trails, you know about the Berenstain Bears thing? You know about this?
I do know what you're talking about, yes.
Right. The idea that like everyone remembered it as Berenstein Bears, but it was actually Berenstein.
It's Berenstein. It's Berenstein. I don't care what people say.
But you look at like all the old stuff and it says Berenstein, right? And so the idea is that at some point, and my wife and I had the same dilemma occur this weekend. I've mentioned on the Discord, we went to a friend's wedding. We drove through Tampa. I live in like Central Florida. We drove through Tampa. We drove over the Howard Franklin Bridge, which connects Tampa to Pinellas, like the St. Pete Clearwater area. It's one of the 3 bridges across the area. I grew up in the area, right? Like I've seen this bridge hundreds of times. I've driven over it hundreds of times. My wife looks at the sign and she goes, "Huh, it's spelled Howard Frank Land." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "It's not Howard Franklin, like a name, it's Howard Frank Land." And we both looked at it and we were like, what? Like, we've never seen that, but we've never noticed that before. It's like Berenstein. I think that we are actually in that alternate world. I think somewhere along the lines, somebody killed the NPC and forgot to reload the save. And that is now the universe that we live in. I think that's all right. So I'm done with my rabbit trail, but
no, that was interesting. Like,
so what did you make the decision to kill the character? Did you go through with all that?
I mean, yeah, because I wanted the mace.
Yeah, and it's pretty badass looking mace too.
That is the coolest weapon. I used that weapon for the next like probably 10 or so hours of gameplay.
Right, and then you out level it, and then you feel bad not being able to use it.
Yeah, but then that was before I realized that swords were superior to maces because they had more DPS. Mm-hmm. Like back then, I was just like, "Oh, maces do more damage, so they must be better." But I didn't realize that they like also, swung that slightly slower.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, to be honest, most of this is going to be about Skyrim that we're talking about because I really
totally
have experience with Skyrim and ESO.
That's totally fine. So, yeah. I mean, I love Skyrim. I've mentioned this before on the show. I got in at Oblivion, never quite been able to go back to the earlier games. I've dabbled in them a little bit, but it's difficult. There's a technological distance that's hard to cross. You know, once the graphics and the gameplay works better, it's hard to go back. But years ago, about 5 years ago, I first started streaming, and I spent a good amount of time building a channel and doing all of that, and eventually went through job changes and wasn't able to keep up with that. So I had to kind of give it up. But one of the things I did was I played Skyrim a lot on stream, and I would role play characters and do all this funny stuff. I've mentioned this on the show before, but in doing that, have put in hundreds of hours in Skyrim and have explored all the corners of the map and tried to find all the collectible things you can find and talk to all the characters and try to do all the extra little side quests and all that stuff. So Skyrim is near and dear to my heart. As much as I love Oblivion for being my first experience, Skyrim is, there's something amazing about that game. And I really hope that once they finally get around to the next major Elder Scrolls game, they're able to at least match that, at least top the magic of that game.
Yeah,
So
the thing is, I don't know if it'll sell as much as Skyrim because Skyrim was just like this whole event. Like
yeah.
some people say that the name Skyrim is more recognizable than the Elder Scrolls
Oh, probably.
because
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of people didn't
people don't say,
realize.
"Oh, are you playing the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim?" No, they say you're playing Skyrim.
Right. They didn't realize that there
So
were a bunch of other games before that, especially if you were a younger gamer and you'd never had an Xbox 360, you never played Oblivion, and you definitely probably didn't play the earlier games. If you're, a teenager at the time Skyrim came out. So yeah, it was Skyrim. That's what it is.
yeah, like I'm pretty young. I'm only 20. So like a lot of these people in the Discord are, like 25, 30. You're obviously like 90.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm a
so
robot, so I don't kind of
yeah,
ageless.
um, but like all these games like were out when I was alive, but I was like, 3 or 5 when they came.
Right.
So
Right.
like I think Morrowind was like what 2003 or something? Or no, Oblivion
2000
was like 2004.
Morrowind's 2004, Oblivion's 2007,
Yeah, so
2003,
again, I
2007,
was
something like that.
6 when
Yeah.
Morrowind came out. So like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to play that.
Yeah. Oh,
Back
you
then I was playing
sweet
my
summer child.
Leapster. I was playing, the Thomas the Tank Engine games on PC.
hmm Yeah, speaking
Um,
of Thomas Tank Engine, I did edit him into my Skyrim experience at some point, and all of the
oh
dragons
yeah.
were Thomas Tank Engine, which is great. If you haven't done that yet, got to do it. Yeah. Oh my God, you hear a choo choo coming from over the mountains, and you know what's up. Whoa,
Yeah.
watch out, Thomas Tank Engine. He looks all grumpy and stuff, and he flies around in the air without any wings. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So as with any of these games, and especially Skyrim, everybody has their favorite side quests, factions, like where do you lie on that spectrum? Which parts of that were your favorite?
I have to say my favorite was probably the Mage Guild, just because it was more than just entering the Mage Guild. It was more like basically saving the world towards the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole
Um,
college thing, and
yeah.
the
And
what's his name? The bad elf guy. Crap.
crap. Google.
Google stuff. Google stuff real fast. People are yelling at their car stereos right now. Yeah, but the he takes all that power, and then everything becomes like, oh crap. So where did you?
Kano?
Maybe that was it. Icano. That sounds familiar. So did
I
you?
literally just Googled Mage Guild evil guy.
Hey, that works. The Google is strong to this one. So did you play like a mage character? Did you actually do a mage playthrough?
No. In fact, the very opposite. That was just my favorite. I mean, because Skyrim is so long, I basically like for a little bit I was, and this is what Skyrim is either infamous or famous for, like depending on which one you're looking at.
Mhm.
Like the fact that you can basically change what you wanted to be mid-game was actually very good. Like if you wanted to be a lizard wizard, which because I played as an Argonian,
Sure.
um, I love Argonians. They're probably my favorite race. Um, you could have magic, but then immediately go back to swords and shields. But so yeah, no, I
Right.
played as mainly an archer. Um,
A sneak archer?
Not really. I mean,
No.
I
Oh
was
man.
a sneak archer at the very or I was sneak, but then once I shot somebody, then I had to pull out my sword because then they knew I was there.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. That was always my tactic. Was go in sneaky first, level all that stuff up so I could one shot most people, and
Yeah.
then if if the S hit the F, which is a funny way to say that. I'm trying to not have to put the mature tag on this. Then yeah, they come running at you, and you've got to hit them with your mulligan ball mace, and try to eat as much cheese as you can to keep your health up. So I went through that as well.
Yeah, it was. By the way, it was Nkano.
Iconic. Yeah, that sounds right.
That's who the guy that tried to steal the what's it called? Like, God, it's been like a year since I've played that, and I've already forgotten. I should have brought notes. Either way.
Next time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter for our conversation right now, but yeah, and I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been a long time. So you played on PC, right?
Yes.
This was your PC experience. Now, anybody who spent any amount of time with Skyrim is probably tried out some mods, like I mentioned the Thomas the
I
Train
have
one.
I have not.
You haven't? You've been like pure vanilla Skyrim this whole time?
Pure vanilla. Yep.
Wow. Wow. No wanting to mess with it? No curiosity about like, well, what if I just have different kinds of swords in the game? Or what if I up
I
up the
mean,
graphics a little bit?
because I think because I've only really played through once, I think I wanted to have like the pure experience first,
Hmm.
and then like now that we're talking about this, I might go back and add in those like mods and all that. But yeah, I don't know. I've never been that big of a mod person.
Hmm.
Like I know that they're fun just to mess with, but
Right.
I don't know. I've just never gone around to it, I guess.
Yeah, my go-to when it comes to going back and playing a game is always some form of improved graphics. So high resolution textures, better water, improved weather systems are often fun to incorporate. High resolution character models, better skin textures, things like that.
Yeah.
That stuff makes the game feel newer. It's like giving it a 3 or 4 year refresh graphically, which is cool. It definitely can help. And then aside from that, I have a tendency when I play these games to I get a certain amount of what's the right word? Seeing the same things over and over and over again, even though the situations are interesting and the characters are interesting, and there might be things I haven't found yet. But the idea of like the steel sword always looks like the steel sword, always looks like a steel sword, and leather armor is always going to look like leather armor. So I always like to add in packs of like new weapons and just variations on weapons, so that even though it's the 20 millionth steel sword I've picked off of a some guy out in the wild who was trying to attack me, it might look really cool. So it might be worth looking at it or collecting it or putting it in your house.
That's why for the longest time I stayed with glass weapons because I think that the glass weapons look the coolest out of all the
Mm-hmm.
weapons. Even though I could do ebony at that point, but I'm like I just want to stay with glass. It looks cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
man. I need to do a whole episode on the show about glass armor and weapons, because that was something that was definitely
especially the armor.
Yeah,
The armor looks so cool.
yeah, and that's something that's been around for a while in the games. And jumping into Oblivion my first time, and then getting to the point where I leveled up enough to start using glass stuff, I was like, glass? How is that going to protect you? That doesn't make any sense. But I haven't done any research on it. I have a feeling it's more like glass created from magma, because it's often connected to the Dunmer and Vardenfell and those kinds of things. So I have a feeling it's actually more like that kind of glass, like obsidian, than it is like our windows, because probably don't want a shield made out of your window.
It's kind of like, I mean, I'm sure it's not the same thing, but it's kind of like plexiglass for like if you ever watched a hockey game, that sort of glass that they hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not glass, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, but they don't really have plastics, so
yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig into that. That's gonna be a fun topic.
To the wikis.
To the wikis. So okay, so you said you've played through one major playthrough. Have you gone back and created other characters? You focus mostly on your Argonian. Do you dabble in other races? Do you
I mean, I've been off the top of my head, I know I mainly like played it for a little bit and then just just stopped playing for whatever. Like I play a lot of different games and I like a lot of different games, so my tastes change. Like even right now I just started playing Oblivion again, and I'm determined to beat it this time.
Right.
Like
I've
literally only gotten like an hour in before. But I've played as a Red Guard, I've played as what was it? I played as the Nord as well. But one thing that's I've never dabbled in any of the elves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The elves are the weirdest looking ones, especially in the older games. Their faces look so
I think
odd.
that's why I don't want to do. I mean, nothing against people if they like playing as elves, but they just look weird to me. So that's why. But then again, I play as Argonians, which probably look the weirdest.
I'm always a Khajiit. I always end up with a cat person.
Yeah.
And that's
And
kind
which
of
is
my
weird because
go-to.
in real life, I'm not a big fan of like snakes or anything like that. I mean, I don't have anything against them, but like I'm not like a snake person or whatever, or a lizard
Hmm.
person.
Yeah, but it's
Like,
almost like being like
it's
an evolved dinosaur, you know? Like
yeah.
this is like if dinosaurs were people shaped, this is what they might look like. Which is
Mm.
pretty cool because they all got all the different horns and stuff on their heads and the different colored scales and all that. So,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, like I really haven't expanded too far out of my comfort zone, so to say. So
Hmm. Um, so, did you jumping into Oblivion? Have you been able to experience the Thieves Guild or the Dark Brotherhood or any of those things? How do you feel about? Well, first of all, how do you feel about like the sneaky, darker side of stuff? Because the Mages Guild is pretty forthright as like this is a place of education. We try to do good things. We try not to do bad magic. That's off the table. You know, they tend to be
yeah.
very generally forward and positive, but you know things start to get really gray once you bring in the Thieves Guild, and then dark once you start talking Dark Brotherhood. How do you feel
Oh
about
yeah.
those
I mean, I saved the Dark Brotherhood for last.
in Skyrim?
In Skyrim, yeah.
Hmm.
And I think at that point, I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I could have, because by the time I started the Dark Brotherhood, I was already like level 65 or something like that.
Right,
So I was like really far into the game, and basically every enemy I was conquering was like one or two hits.
right. You're just blowing through it.
So
Sure.
yeah. So I think next time I go around, I'm probably gonna, either do it first or do it like second out of like all the different guilds. Um, but yeah, I loved the story. That little girl that's a vampire.
Yeah, she's the best.
That's At first I thought she was an actual kid. But then I noticed her vampires. I noticed some of her, talking about how she's like 900 or whatever
Uh-huh.
years. I don't think she's that old, but
Yeah, she's pretty old. And then yeah, you can even notice her teeth, I think, if you look carefully.
yeah.
Pointy
Or
teeth.
like spoilers for the Skyrim um Dark Brotherhood here for a second. But warning for like five
It's fine.
seconds.
It's an old game. I think
I
spoilers
know
are
it came out in 2011, but somebody's
right.
gonna message me on Discord
They're gonna be
saying
like,
you've ruined the
why?
game for me.
What are you doing?
Um, yeah, it came out in 2011. God, that's weird to say. It's almost 8 years old now. Anyways,
Yeah, it's crazy.
once like the Dark Brotherhood, you know, main place just like completely like burns down, that honestly made me like really sad, even though I really didn't have that big of a connection to it yet.
Hmm.
Like if the Mages Guild place burned down, I would be like like really sad because that's like where my favorite character in the game is, Jazargo.
Hmm.
Uh, just because I just think he's the funniest. Uh, Sort of like Maik, I guess, in the very similar way of like how the Khajiits talk.
Right.
Um,
A certain aloofness.
or like
Yeah.
those little scrolls that Jazargo gives you, and you have to test them out, and turns out they like damage you.
Right. Yes.
Uh,
I remember that.
so
Yeah.
that was it's like I go to, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna try out magic for it makes you
Yes, I do
hurt
remember that now.
yourself.
Yeah,
Um,
I was never much of a big Magic player, and I did go through the Mages Guild stuff. I want to say at least once, maybe 2 or 3 times. It's been a while. It's been a long time.
I mean, I mainly went through the Mages Guild just for the story. Like, I'm not a big magic user, with the exception of Restoration.
Hmm.
Um, but because I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna help you with this magic stuff, and then I'd kill the enemies with my sword. Uh,
Right.
but
So
yeah, I think I interrupted you, didn't I?
maybe I think I've got like 10 thoughts in my brain all at the same time, and I'm just like, okay, which one should I bring up next? But you can go any direction in these conversations. You can take, and I mean, there's so many things to dive into in this game. That's part of why it's fun to do a Lorecast, because
Yeah.
every time I'm deciding what to do on an episode, I could go, who knows, just pick a topic and just fall down a hole researching about it. But I like to try to keep as much of the conversation around the human aspects of interfacing with the game or the games, because we could make it a really, really dry show where you just go through the list of things and this is the information that you should have. But what I find most interesting is the way that we all engage with games like Skyrim. And you specifically mentioned that you have a favorite character and that you are emotionally connected to that. And that is something that happens all the time. So tell me more about was it the like buddy silly friendship thing? Was it the like what is it about Jazargo specifically that really grabbed you?
I don't know. I think he's funny.
You're just like a fun companion, like a fun guy to be around.
He's one of the only companions that doesn't have a level cap.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know about. I
Um,
haven't looked into that part of it. That's interesting.
because I think he levels up to like 100 or something like that. I might
Wow.
be completely wrong on that, but
Somebody
I
want to
do
Google
remember.
in Twitch chat right now? Let us know.
Well, because I know my first companion that I like played most of the early game with was Farkas,
Hmm.
which is one of the guys from the companions.
Right.
Um, but he has like a level cap of like 25,
Oh wow.
so
Hmm.
or 50 something, or I think like 25 or 30. Or Vilcus. Vilcus is what I'm thinking of. Sorry, I got the two twins mixed up.
Oh. Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, and then I just found this, talking cat, which was like I wasn't
Awesome.
expecting to see him in Winterhold. So I don't know, something about him just he's probably my favorite character in at least Skyrim. In terms of like the physical bodies that are like all the physical, people or mer or whatever.
Hmm.
Man or mer or beast. Yeah, he's probably my favorite.
Yeah. Cool. So have you? Let's talk Elder Scrolls Online.
Hmm
Have you experienced much there?
I've still stuck to Vardenfell, honestly. I'm still just sticking around there.
So
But
what
I
is your
have,
general feeling about it? Because it's a very different game than something like Skyrim in
yeah,
very specific ways, but from the aspect of like uh, clearly the world, a lot of the story type stuff, even the way some of the quest lines play out, especially now that they've updated and continue to improve the game, are actually very similar. There's tonality in the game seems to be they've caught a lot of the stuff that happened in some of the previous games and have really brought that into Elder Scrolls Online. So I really do enjoy questing for a lot of those reasons.
yeah,
What are
yeah.
your
Elder
thoughts?
Scrolls Online was the game that basically made me get into MMOs. Like historically, I didn't really like MMOs, and I still really don't, with the exception of ESO.
Hmm.
Uh, like I tried to play WoW when WoW Classic came out, and it was like cool for like a week, and then everybody sort of realized it was basically just them releasing the same game.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And it takes you a million years to level up.
yeah, like because one of my friends from work plays WoW, and he wanted me to play WoW with him, so I bought a month subscription to play with him. But then again, I realized that I hated it. But with ESO, it's the only MMO that I've ever subscribed to, and then continue to subscribe to.
Now, why do you think
Um,
that is? What was it that really
I think I think
keeps you
it's
going?
the fact that it is Elder Scrolls and the fact that it has that lore with it. Like the fact that it's a prequel in the second era, before all the events of Oblivion and Skyrim and all that. Um, it just sort of gives you this window of time that once the Red Mountain exploded, all of Ardenfell was basically gone. Um, right? Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
I mean, things were very different.
Like
Yeah.
I remember like there was this one city that I went to, and then I was like, oh, this is a cool city. And then I looked it up on the UESP, and then I found out that it was destroyed when the mountain exploded. I was like, oh no,
Oh, yeah.
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're never gonna see this again if they. Uh,
Yeah.
so that
If
made
we
me
were to go
sad a
back, it
little.
would look very different for sure. And that's part of what I enjoy about Elder Scrolls Online is getting that being able to play through the history of a lot of the things that are referenced in other games, or people that are mentioned, or people that still exist in the other games, but were doing things back then and still around. There's all sorts of that kind of stuff. How do you feel from like a gameplay perspective? Man, is that a Freudian thing? Because there's a subscription model. I don't know,
Well,
but you can't play just the games without subscribing. So, but how do you feel about like the mechanics of it, the building a character, the different kinds of classes?
I mean, in comparison to other MMOs, that's basically what I'm comparing it with. I love that it's basically not just a numbers game where Like, I love that it doesn't just automatically attack for you, at least.
Yes.
Like, I love
Right.
that part of it. Because I feel like, especially when I was playing WoW, I would just right-click an enemy, and then I would just wait for their health bar to go down.
Right. And
Um,
you could just do the auto attack until something died, you know, or
uh,
you just wait to hit the next button and then hit the next button.
yeah,
Yeah.
but with ESO, I'm having to, dodge out of the way or, switch between the two different, equipments that I have, the two different weapons.
Hmm.
Which right now I'm doing a sword and shield, but then I also have a restoration staff to heal myself.
Okay.
Um,
What level are you at?
I'm 29 right now.
Okay. So you're about halfway
So
to.
I haven't hit the cap yet.
Mhm.
But I want to eventually. I probably will sometime next year, honestly, because I really haven't been playing ESO as much as I have recently. But that's because the new Zelda game came out, so I've been playing that a lot.
Yeah. Oh man,
uh,
I have too many games to play as it is, but I'm definitely tempted
oh
to
my
jump
god,
into that.
dude, I have a whole shelf of games
A whole
of
backlog
my
shelf.
backlog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, dude.
I
Yeah.
literally have a section of my collection dedicated to backlog games, and I'm almost out of room.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is, and this is one of the benefits of being a parent, is at some point my son is going to realize that this is out, and he's going to realize that just a few months is Christmas, so they'll just let him want it, and then I'll get to play it too.
Mhm.
I'll get double
How was he?
benefit.
Like 6, 9,
He's 9, yeah.
7,
Yeah, so he's
9?
like
Okay.
exactly the right age to be playing those, especially the remakes of old Zelda games. Like
Hmm.
he's right in that window of like,
Yeah, like I own the original on because I've started collecting Game Boy games about a year ago.
mhm.
Uh, that's the thing that I never told my about people when I introduced myself. I collect video games. I like collecting video games.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. In fact,
Like
I'm sort of the
like physical copies of games too that you keep on a shelf.
yes, yeah. Um, Mainly Nintendo because that's sort of like what I really like. But yeah, so I've been comparing those two versions of the game, and it's just like really cool. It's weird that I started collecting Game Boy games because I was born like right before the millennium started,
Yeah, that's
the
so
new
crazy to
millennium.
me.
But
But yeah.
like I own a piece of technology right now, my Game Boy Pocket, that is older than I am.
Uh-huh.
And it's just weird for me to say that. Like
Yeah.
I know that the world has existed for thousands and thousands and millions of years before I was born, but it's weird for me to be able to hold something that's older than me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And well, here's the other thing is that if you were born in the 90s, early 2000s, technology was already at a point. I mean, we had the internet, we had advances for, like pocket computational devices, which really came to a head with smartphones. But we were like right there on the cusp of like technology that is actually portable and can be useful and probably will still be useful into the future. We just want upgrades,
Yeah, like cell phones I think were around when I was born. I was born in
Oh yeah.
98.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
totally.
cell phones were around, but they were like as big as like
Yeah, they were a
I don't
business
even know I
necessity.
don't even know what to describe it to, like as big as like a lunchbox or something like that.
Yeah, so in I guess the late 80s, they had car phones finally became a big thing for people who could afford
Hmm.
them. And then by the late 90s, most people who needed portability and to be able to get contact were carrying beepers around. This was like a big thing in
Hmm.
my high school. Like all the cool kids had a beeper. And the thing
Oh
would
my
like,
God.
their parents would call the beeper
Tom, you're
number.
old.
I'm so old. They call the beeper number. The thing would buzz and they'd see a phone number pop up. Or if the parents were savvy enough, they would like put a code in there that meant something. And then they'd have to go find a phone and call their parents back. That's how old I am. So yeah. So I
Wow.
mean I just turned 40 this year. I'm not shy about my age. It's pretty good freaking age. I'm old
Yeah,
enough
you
to
are
know
you are
stuff.
you are double my age.
I'm double your age. I'm old enough to know stuff, but I'm not too old enough to like do stuff, like it's kind of a good mix. But yeah, when I was 20, 40 seemed ancient, but hey,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But yeah, so like if you talk about
My parents are
technology,
almost 60, so
yeah, well, yeah, my parents are like in their mid 60s.
55-ish.
Yeah. But if you talk about like technology that was around before I was born, then you're talking things like cassette players and tape decks and calculators. And I mean, like, technically, I think the original Atari 2600 launched before I was born. So that would be on the list.
That was 79, I believe, or
I was,
81.
oh, was it? I was born in 79. I think it might have been previously that year, something like that. I don't remember all the details, but yes. So that's That's my experience with technology from before I was born.
Oh, the 2600 came out in 1977.
There you go. Yep. 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 So that was around before me. And when I was a kid, we had one. And I thought that my dad bought it for my brother and I, but it turns out that he bought it because he wanted to play Pac-Man. And I didn't figure that out until I got older. And I was like, wait a minute. He didn't buy this for us. This is the same thing I just mentioned about buying the Zelda game for my son for Christmas. Like that same kind of thing. Like, oh, here, boys, here's a present. You can play with it. And then he was staying up late playing Pac-Man. So I guess it runs in the family.
Yeah, it's kind of like how this was a couple years ago, I bought like a TV. Because we moved about a couple years ago, so I wanted a TV for like an upper loft area that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like my TV. Like I bought it with my own money.
Right.
So when I move out, I'm bringing it. But everybody else in the house sort of uses it whenever they're upstairs. So, it's sort of like that when like you buy something and just everybody else uses it.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I'm okay with them using it as long as I'm not in the middle of a game or something. So.
Yeah. Sure. That makes sense. So, okay. So let's pull it back to Elder Scrolls.
Yeah. Again, two people that love to go on tangents.
Yes. Well, this is the other thing that you learn. Welcome to the other tangent. When you do a show like this, is that, like doing Robots Roundtable every week with the other hosts from the other shows, like get a bunch of podcast hosts in a room and good luck staying on like script, or it's not that there's a script, but there's like a topic.
I mean, I'm fine with talking with other stuff other than Elder Scrolls because I play, basically I'll play a bunch of different games. Like I don't just play Elder Scrolls.
So here's a fun topic. All right. Elder Scrolls, the next Elder Scrolls game is still probably 6 or 7 years off because they're doing Starfield. They're doing other, other projects maybe, but we know that the next Elder Scrolls game is a good ways off. What do you know of any of the games that we know are coming out? Is there anything else out there that really feels like it's going to scratch that itch? Or are we just sticking with Elder Scrolls Online? Games? No, any other games at all. So, for example, for people who are fans of Fallout, there's a lot of hope that the Outer Worlds is really going to kind of scratch that Fallout itch, and potentially 76 gets the new expansion with the companions and other, NPCs, and then that helps scratch that itch as well, right? But for something like Elder Scrolls, something that's kind of fantasy based, I
mean, the game that I'm really looking forward to, and it's probably still a couple years out at the very least, is the sequel to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
that's coming out.
Yeah, and I hope that's more than just like a like a map pack. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they could do the same thing again, create a bigger world, and that'd be fine. But
oh my gosh, that Breath of the Wild, I could go on for hours about how good that game is.
Yeah,
because Breath of the Wild is a combination of two of my favorite game types. It's Zelda and open world games. Like, it was just, that's why it's probably my favorite game, but at the same time, I don't know if it's better than other games I like. It's just really weird. Like, when a game is so good that you don't know if it's your favorite game or not, like, then that means it's a good game. Like,
yeah, I always find it's hard to actually, decide what a favorite game is. Like if you were asking me right now, I'd be like, I don't know. I have a hard time making decisions about favorites. I could tell you what were contextually my favorites at different times, or if I'd rather be doing one thing or another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like honestly, to me, my favorites of anything just end up being like the first thing I ever did. Like my favorite Zelda game is the Twilight Princess, and like my favorite characters in games are usually or my favorite companions in games are usually like the first ones that I played through the game with. Because I have like an emotional attachment to beating the game with them or whatever.
Right. They kind of set the standard too.
Yeah. Like Jazargo, going back to him, he was my companion for a little bit, so I remember I beat the Mage's Guild with him, so.
Right. So any other games on that list of like looking forward to?
I mean, not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Off the top of my hand.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing there either.
No games on my hand. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk. I think that's going to be cool, but it's not really the fantasy equivalent, I guess you could say. Also, I don't know. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, I hope somebody's going to come out with some sort of fantasy game that's a surprise, something that really catches us off guard and does some really interesting things.
And again, the new Zelda game came out, but it's just a remake.
Right.
But,
And I'm thinking it's something a little bit darker than that. Like Zelda has a tendency to be, cheerful, a very colorful world. Doesn't take itself too seriously, you know?
Oh yeah. Crystal in the chat's talking about BioShock.
Is there another BioShock?
No, but
BioShock Infinite.
It is on my
BioShock
playlist that I'm coming up. So once I beat Oblivion, I'm gonna go through the BioShock games.
Yeah, those are all good. I mean, the first one.
I played about half of the first one. Let's see. Speaking of BioShock, I think BioShock 1 has one of the best intros to a game.
Yeah.
Just the whole welcome to Rapture, and then you just see the whole city.
Right. Like, holy crap, this is a city under the water.
Yeah, what the heck? What? Why is nobody here? Oh no, all these things are trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the ending. Speaking of beginnings and endings.
The game.
Yeah, but like Infinite, I really enjoyed the ending of Infinite. And I know that there's problems with like, alternate realities and all the little things people want to get nitpicky about, but the way that game ends, the rush to the conclusion of it. Have you played through BioShock Infinite?
No.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I'll probably forget what you say, so you can say whatever you
want.
I'm
not going to tell you. I won't tell you the ending, but it's more complex than I can just like tell you right now. But the way that things kind of rush to the ending, and then things are revealed, and then another thing's revealed, another thing's revealed, and then it ends, and you're like, it was one of the few games that I got all the way to the end on, and I kind of pushed my chair back from my desk, and I watched the little screen scroll up, and I had all those like tingly feelings, and I was like, wait a minute, what? And then I went to bed and couldn't sleep because I was just like putting all the pieces together, and I was like, then that means this.
God, that is when a game is so good, when it stays with you. I love that.
Yeah. And it's not perfect, but if you haven't had it spoiled for you, play through it. You can probably burn through the game in, I don't know, 12, 15 hours of just like casually playing through it. But take note of stuff. Like there are, and this isn't a spoiler, but be aware of things in the environment that kind of hint at stuff that's going on. So, for example, you can walk through one area and you happen to hear a barbershop quartet, because the game is based in like the early 1900s. And there's this barbershop quartet over on this floating boat, because it's a city in the sky. And they're singing a barbershop quartet version of God Only Loves by the Beach Boys. And it's beautiful. It's really cool. But like, I walked past that and I was like, wait a minute, I know this song. And I turned over and I just sat there and watched them sing the song, and then they floated away. And I was like, huh, why is that in this game? And I all right. And then just kept going on, like with the rest of the story. And then eventually it made sense, but
Yeah, little Easter eggs like that.
Yeah. I was like, huh. And, and it's one of those things that every so often I'll just look it up again just to listen to it on like Spotify or whatever. But yeah, those are the best moments in games when you just like something happens and you have that emotional connection. You've been really drawn into it, and it's, it speaks to you on a level that makes you feel like, okay, this is not just a game, but this is art. This is really something more than that.
Video games are art. Nobody can say they aren't, because they are.
Yeah. Some aren't. Some are really crappy, or maybe they're art, but they're just really crappy art.
Crappy art is still art.
Crappy art's still art. I guess we could argue about that. Yeah.
I mean, anything that somebody makes to be consumed by other people is art, in my opinion.
Like a shoe? See, this is the difference between
somebody
art.
Designed the shoe.
Yeah, well, so there's the difference between art and craft. The shoe itself
is not art, but looking at the shoe and admiring it is art. Like,
interesting. Yeah, because this is the definitional problem with this kind of. This is one of those dilemmas that gets talked about, right? The difference between art and craft. So, if I was to just make a chair to sit on that's functional, that has no intentional aesthetic appeal or emotional plan or any of that, then that's a craft. Now, you could still find it to be beautiful, but it wasn't designed with the intent of being art. Then you could design a chair with the intent of being art that is still functional, but is now, modeled after other types of chairs, or uses a certain type of wood in order to get a really cool grain and a look in it, or is engraved in a certain way, or, you know, has certain fabric in it that makes it stand out. And that would be more intentionally art that still has functionality. So there's this like, and I don't know that there's a clean line between the two, but it seems like there's kind of this like, both things tend to bleed into each other. But you know, but then again, is it really the intent of the artist that defines something as art or not? Maybe it's the intent of the viewer. That could be too. So
Well, because then people find these like hundreds of year old like books or whatever. They're like, oh, look at this is art, but then
at the time it was functional.
It's just a guy that just wrote a book.
Right. Right. He's just like, no, this is my book. Or yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying about that. Well,
I don't really know where I was going with that, but
books.
Like,
check them out.
Well, yeah, just
books,
basically people
check them out.
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah, I mean, I'm just a lover of like anything art. I think that's why one of the things why I want to collect games, going back to that, is just the conservation of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know my collection isn't anything huge, like it's not even that big, to be honest. But like that's why I just love physical media over anything else. Like, especially starting to work in electronics, I've noticed that new DVD sets, new Blu-rays are still being released because there's still a market for physical media.
Oh yeah.
Like, stuff isn't going away. Trust me, there are people that want DVDs the day they come out.
Oh yeah, totally. This is one of the things they talked about. I used to work in packaging. I designed packages and boxes and foam and those kinds of things. And there was a big scare about paper going away. Paper isn't going to sell anymore. Nobody's going to buy paper. Everything's digital. Nobody needs to print anything.
Or it's like when ebooks came out.
Right, but the truth is that
started to become popular.
Some people are always going to just want a physical object. Some people are going to want to send a letter. It's going to be less because they now have another means to do it, but it's not going away completely. It's just the things are rebalancing around that. So
but yeah, vinyl's coming back. That's another thing.
Yeah.
And people in the chat are saying.
Yeah, and with video games, being able to actually have the physical items and working physical parts with which to play them is part of the making sure that we can keep those around, because there will come a time where we can't use them anymore. We won't have a way to make them work. It is actually very interesting. You brought up WoW Classic, but until they released WoW Classic, there wasn't actually a good way to ever experience what WoW was like 15 years ago. You couldn't go back and do that. That game didn't exist. Now, you could go on some sort of hacked server and get a sort of a pseudo experience, but you would never have the full experience of being in a game with a group of people who are experiencing it for the first time and investigating and working together. And that's the closest we can get to, is with the re-release of it. But again, another 5 years from now, 10 years, once WoW Classic is old, then again, we'll be in this place where you can't just pop, a disc and a drive somewhere and get that experience, because it relies more on just the code on the disc. So
yeah,
it's an interesting dilemma. I don't know how we, I guess it's sort of like filming when we had cameras that could actually film things, 100 and something years ago. And you see like those old videos of like New York City in, 1912, and people on horses walking down the middle of Broadway and all that kind of stuff. The closest we can do is actually document it by like recording it.
Yeah, like, so I'm sort of a fan of auto racing and like motorsports, and I saw this video on YouTube the other day of, it was like this racer from like the 50s was, they put a camera on the back of his car, and he was commentating while he was racing around a lap of, I don't know if you've heard of the 24 Hours of Le Mans before.
I don't know much about it.
It's this famous endurance race that's been going on for hundreds of years. Or not hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years.
For like 100 years.
Since the advent of cars in 1527.
Well, okay. For like almost 100 years at this point, they've been having some sort of auto race there. It's this really famous track, but it's just weird to see. It was this footage from like the 50s, so like right after World War II. Well, not right after, but like 5 years after. And it's just weird to see, the place that you see now back then. It's just weird.
Hmm.
But
Hmm. Yeah, especially when it's like colorized or like the frame rate
yeah, it
is
wasn't even colorized,
edited.
but
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that extra stuff on, and it's like, what?
and
This
it,
is feels like it was yesterday. This
in
is crazy.
fact, like the track that they used back then, it was just like a public park that
Hmm.
they just happened to drive on. So the guy was driving around a public park. Like it's just not, granted, not at race speeds,
Right.
but
Okay.
like um because the lap itself is like 4 something miles, so it's a pretty big lap.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just insane to see like there was people that he's having to slow down for and all that. It's just amazing how safety standards have changed nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
Like he probably wasn't even wearing a seatbelt.
Probably
Uh,
not. Probably not. I saw a clip of an old movie a little while back, and I think it was from like the mid 1950s, and it was a guy and a girl going on a date, and they were smoking in the car, no
oh my
seatbelts,
gosh.
and then they started drinking on their way to the place they were going
Oh no.
while driving, and
Mm,
it was all done in the context of like, this is normal. Like, I was just like,
yeah.
what?
It's like how you can go back far enough and see like Marlboro cigarette commercials from like the Flintstones or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
Weird, weird crap. I'm sure people are gonna, 100 years from now, look at all of the sorts of crap that we're doing and be like, those people were
yeah,
idiots.
yeah, or like our music. They're like, oh, these people from the year 2019, those music that they listen, or that music that they listen to.
Yeah, it's like the same song over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I agree with you there. But anyways,
Yeah. Anyways,
so Elder Scrolls, right?
so Elder Scrolls. Well, hey, let's wrap it up because this is getting kind of long. Is there anything else you wanted to add about your experiences with Elder Scrolls? I know one of the other things that you mentioned was how you discovered the podcast, how you came about this
Oh yeah.
community, and your experiences with that. I'd love to get your perspective on that because I'm always interested to find out how people found the show, what keeps them listening, what keeps them involved with the Discord and the family. I mean, I guess we could say family at this point that's growing on there. And you and I, before the show, were talking, it's like it exploded over the weekend. I mean, it's already been busy,
Yeah.
but it is now like I don't know, busy with a capital B. I don't know how
Yeah.
to say more busy.
I gotta say, if anybody's listening to this right now and you are not on the Discord, join our Discord. Not to make it bigger than it already is, but like
Don't join the Discord.
honestly,
Don't.
yeah. But like it is a family at this point. Like there are people that I've now talked to and played Elder Scrolls Online with outside of just being on stream with you, robots.
Mhm.
Like I've played with, Gom and Mustang. Well, not Mustang because he's on Xbox.
Yeah.
But like I've played with these people. Like, don't just be a listener. Feel that like you can join this community and we will welcome you. We're not judgy at all. Like, but yeah. So how I found you was I literally was just like listening to podcasts one day and I'm like, huh, I wonder if there's a Fallout podcast out there. So I typed in Fallout to Spotify, and you were like the third one that showed up. It said the Fallout
Awesome.
Lorecast.
Awesome.
So I'm like, oh, that's perfect. I love the lore of Fallout because, I mean, again, I know this is Elder Scrolls, but this is how I found you.
Yeah, sure.
And then, I was listening to the Fallout Lorecast, and then it was like the promotional episode that you did that was like the first episode of the Elder Scrolls one.
Yeah, when I got
So
this crazy
then,
idea, I was like, I think I could do 2 podcasts.
yeah, and now you have like 20.
Like 20. Yeah, I'm gonna really only keep up with 4 of them, but the other ones are just kind of fun little side things. But yeah, dude, I'm hoping by the end of the year, this is more secrets. I'm hoping by the end of the year to have more time to do other shows.
Yeah.
And maybe launch some new ones. Secrets. But, I'm sorry. Go on.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the sound of insanity right there.
That's the sound of insanity. Yeah, we'll see.
Just being like, I think I can start some more podcasts.
I think maybe I'm addicted at this point. I'm trying to stream more. I'm trying to do more podcasts.
You're addicted to that record button, dude.
You know what it is? It's I've thought about this, and making a podcast is fun, and digging into the stuff, learning how to produce it better, practicing delivery. There's a lot that goes into creating a good show, being a better host, all of that kind of stuff. Streaming games is fun because you get to play games and you get to play with your friends and you get to meet new people and you get to kind of put on a show a little bit and have fun doing that. But really, it's the community part that really keeps me going. It's the knowing that I get up in the morning. One of the first things I do is I look on my phone and I open up the Discord and I go, what did I miss while I was sleeping?
That is a lot of notifications.
Yeah. There's a bunch of notifications, and I'll kind of thumb through them.
There's so many. I feel like once I go to work and then I come back, there's like 8 hours of conversation I have to go through.
Well, we've got lots of individual rooms too now, so hopefully, if you're more interested in certain topics, you'll know which rooms to check. Right?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I really there are some rooms that I don't even pay attention to, because I just don't have any interest in the topic. Like honestly, I'm muted like the Xbox Elder Scrolls one because I don't play on Xbox.
Don't have it. Yeah. You're not on Xbox. It makes sense.
No offense to the Xbox people.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. You're not important to me. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, like I love the community. Honestly, that's I think made me stay with these podcasts. Like at first, it was just it's cool to learn about the lore of Fallout and Elder Scrolls, but now it's like I have friends here now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But
I mentioned that
from going from the Fallout Lorecast, it made me then branch over to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, which then made me want to support you on Patreon, which then made me, watch some of the other podcasts on the network, like Granted Uncertainty and Hidden Pixels and all those.
Mm-hmm.
And Robots Roundtable. Can't forget about that one.
Can't forget about that one. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's awesome. I mean, it always feels good to get confirmation that the things I'm doing are benefiting people more than just in a way that's entertaining. It's nice to create entertainment.
Sorry, I just cut out there for a minute. Sorry, can you go back like 10 seconds?
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, sometimes there's issues with this, but it's always nice to know that as a creator, that the things I'm creating aren't just entertainment. And that's not to downplay entertainment. Entertainment is very important. We all need entertainment. We all need, to be able to blow off steam or have something to look forward to when the weekend comes, or when we have to make that big long commute, or when we work out, like to just kind of keep us going. But the thing that's really, truly important to everyone is human connection. And I find that for some people that comes very easily. They're the kinds of people who just can go out into the world and make friends with people. They're the salesman of the world. They're the, the charming guy in high school who was friends with everybody. That's those people. Most of us aren't like that. Most of us are way more comfortable in our own space, not having to have awkward conversations at parties, and being able to talk about the things that we truly enjoy and the things that actually matter to us. And that was something that I had realized when I started the show. In fact, this is something I realized years ago, and I've only now been able to take the experience that I've accrued over the years and create something that I guess I could say I'm truly proud of, and that has brought people together in order to then create friendships and create a space where people feel safe to be themselves and to open up about things that they're going through, or just find a few buddies to jump into Elder Scrolls Online and go through a dungeon for the first time or whatever. All of that is important. And when you don't have that in your life, nobody wants to be lonely. And there's a lot of people who just live in these, environments where they just don't connect with the people who are physically around them. So you have to look other places, and to create a digital space that happens in, I think is, it was something I hoped would eventually happen. And now that it is happening, really makes me feel like I'm doing something of real value. And, I can't thank you and everyone else for being here enough, because that gives me value in return, just knowing that you guys are getting that out of the community. I think that's amazing. I don't know what else to say about that, but
yeah, totally. I completely agree.
So thanks for bringing that up. Well, we got to wrap it up. We're going a little long, and I would love for anybody who would like to get a hold of you or talk to you about some of your Skyrim experiences, or group up with you on Elder Scrolls Online or anything like that, to know where they can reach out to you. How do you want to be contacted?
I mean, honestly, the best way is probably just to contact me on Discord. I'm on there actively a lot. Whenever I'm online, you'll see me on the right hand because I'm one of the patrons, so I'm sort of near the top. So yeah, just go ahead and add me on Discord. That's honestly the best way to get in contact with me.
Yeah, and there's a link in the show notes for Discord, so you can always find the link. If you don't want to open up the show notes, you can always just Google Robots Radio Discord. You know, the SEO is strong with this one. It shows up at the top. And open invitation to anybody who wants to go on there, as long as you are willing to be awesome to other people. You're welcome. You're welcome to join us. And there's guilds, the PC Guild for Elder Scrolls Online. So if you want to join in that too, then you'll see a number of us on there pretty regularly.
Yeah, help me get to level 50.
yeah. You got to get out of Vardenfell. You got to go do other stuff.
True.
You level faster in other places. But I know the feeling of like, well, now I'm on this quest line and I got to finish the quest line. Yeah, totally get it.
Yeah, like the 2 second cycles. Like there's this one, like I think her name's Sun and Shadow or whatever. It's like this slave lady that I helped free, but then there's like 5 more quests after to help her, and I'm like, oh gosh, I just want to get out of Vardenfell.
Yeah, but don't speed through that, because that storyline actually it takes an interesting twist at the end. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you do that.
Does she die? I hope she doesn't die.
I will not confirm or deny anything, but that also doesn't confirm that either.
She totally dies.
I'm confirming that I'm not confirming or denying anything, in the meaning that I'm not necessarily confirming that she does or doesn't. Anyway, well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate it, and it's so nice to have you around on the Discord and in the Twitch chat regularly, and even jumping in game together, and all the fun stuff that we've got going on.
Yeah,
I really do appreciate it. I was going to say something else, but my brain just went derp and disappeared. This show, just so anybody else knows, stream will be live on Twitch, twitch.tv/robotsradio at the end of every month. Maybe we'll make Wednesdays our regular day. If you would like to be involved next time, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. And if you decide to upgrade or subscribe at tier 4 or higher, then you get a whole bunch of rewards and stuff, but then you also get to be on the show next month. So, and Lincoln, you're more than welcome to be here next month if you would like to. Of course, I would love the support.
If you I can make it, because I don't know, with work, like this was actually kind of a miracle that I had today off from work. So
oh, that's fine. And we can always figure out another way around scheduling.
I would love to join you next month, though. I would love to do this again.
Yeah, it's super fun. And we'll come up with other topics too. So this was a really nice introductory episode and give kind of a background on what you're doing. But I would love to maybe we'll pull out the lore of like glass armor or something and dig into that. That could be fun. So awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. And for everyone else, stay tuned for the ad break on the podcast. And then I will be wrapping up the episode. And so stick around. And thanks again, Lincoln. Talk to you again later.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
See ya. And cut. Hi, Twitch audience. And that was great.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
After show.
This is the after show. After show. I should change the screen and do something funny with the screen. After show.
Do your after show dance.
The after show dance? After show. After show. We just did a show. After show. After show. This is the dumbest song in the world. There we go. That's the after show.
I just turned on video on the stream again, so I just saw you doing
you got to see me do that. You got to see me do that. That's awesome. BuddyBot's deep thoughts. Robot's an idiot and does a terrible dance. Well, thank you, BuddyBot. All right. So hello, chat. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Hey, Silior. Hey, Pi. Hey, Tech.
Yeah, we got the whole gang in here.
Crystal, I don't know if you're still here.
Crystal might still be here. That's always the trick with Twitch, is like you scroll back up and you're like, oh, is this person still here? I don't know. Look, Lincoln's in the room.
Yeah, I was typing some while we were recording.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah. Tech, hi Tech. Cool. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Yeah, of course, that lasted a long time.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Oh, Nest is here. Hi, Nest. Welcome. I need to go take a break and take care of some other stuff. But if I can play some more games tonight, I will be back on in, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. If not, I will definitely see everybody tomorrow night. So thank you all for hanging out. And Lincoln, thank you again. And I think that's it. You want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. See you later. Have a good night. Bye.